Good morning everyone, welcome back. So as promised, I'm going to be doing spray foam installation. We use a kit from a company called AB Building Supplies. They are the UK supplier of honey foam, so that's the one we're going to be using. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly give you an explanation of what we've done to prepare the van before we sheet it up for actual application of the spray foam, and also what we've done with some other insulation as well, because we don't just use the spray foam to insulate the whole van. I don't think that is actually the most effective way to insulate a van, just covering it in spray foam, because there's obviously lots of cavities that you need to deal with. I've seen some pictures of people that have had spray foam done by companies and paid sort of £600, £700, £800 for the van to be done, and to me it just looks like they've sprayed over the skin of the van, which is fine on the flat areas, but obviously there's a lot of metal structure inside, so if you've just sprayed over that, you've got all these holes everywhere that have not got any foam in them. And given the price of these spray foam kits, there's no way that you can do a van properly for that amount of money. And looking at the pictures, you can see there's loads of gaps, and I just don't think that's right. So if you're one of these people that applies it like that, I'm very sorry, but I don't agree with how you do it. So think of that as being controversial as you will. The way I do it is we basically use some recycled bottle wool insulation in the cavities of the vans that we're never going to be able to get to again, and then that gets kind of sealed in by the spray foam rather than trying to fill all the cavities with spray foam. This is the way we do it, and it will be the most thorough way of insulating the van. And also we're using sheep's wool in the doors, so we're no longer putting a vapor barrier on the doors so the sheep's wool can breathe. Sheep's wool obviously has got the ability to take on moisture and then release it, so it will dry back out again. So I feel that's probably the most effective way of doing it. As you can probably see behind me, there's sheep's wool in the door. So I'm going to spin you around, give you a run around this relay, Citroen relay. So this is van 1 that we're going to be doing, and basically what we've done, bottle wool insulation in all the areas that you're going to be essentially needing to spray foam into, and given the way that this stuff expands, it's all just going to come back out again. We've just packed in various areas, so like here for example, we sculpt around the doorways with a vapor barrier essentially to try and keep all of this sort of smooth, ready for carpet. So this isn't really doing anything insulation wise apart from sort of separating the main body of the van from any insulation we've put in here. So behind here is a pretty awkward shape, and we've got wiring running along here and all down here. The way I like to do it, and I think looks the best, is to thoroughly sculpt this. So there's layers and layers of foil tape on here and the bubble wrap foil insulations, vapor barrier. So it creates quite a nice strong shape that's not rigid, and it's really easy to put carpet over and nice and flat, and it looks really good when it's finished because your wall panel then finishes up and over it slightly, so you get a nice separation from carpet to wall panel and you don't see any metal. Awkward places like this, the last time I used this spray foam, I just found I was kind of fighting it, trying to get it to go where I wanted it whilst worrying about not using it all up too quick. So what we've done is we've really packed in these kind of awkward little crevices so that you've then got a really nice flat area to make full use of the spray foam, and then also you can apply more of it to bring it out more flush with the metalwork. So to me, you're kind of looking to achieve as much consistent thickness throughout the whole van, otherwise what's the point? So again, if we waste loads of it on cavities trying to fill up areas like this, when it's just going to keep flowing out of all these holes unless you tape them up, and then if you tape them up and start filling it up, you don't know how much has actually gone in there. So you're kind of hoping you filled the cavity up, which I think when you're spraying a whole van, if you're just, so imagine this wooden framework wasn't in here and you sprayed this whole van with spray foam or cork, I've seen people doing as well. That's great. The van looks insulated. When you look at it, it's covered in foam, but the way this spray foam goes in, you've got to get it in all of these places, otherwise you've got a big area where there's no insulation there. So to me, it's all good and well covering it in a 10mm thick layer of it. You've then got all these cavities behind it that are just essentially not insulated. You know, it's not, if this was a container that's got flat walls but not loads of cavities, yes, it's fine to spray it all over like that. But if you do it any other way, you know, you're going to end up with all these gaps. So again, I'm going to be filling in awkward places with wool. So I've got a visitor. Bunny. What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? Sorry about that. So any of these awkward areas, essentially like you would paint around the edges of a wall and then fill in with a roller, cut in with a paintbrush. Essentially, I'm cutting in with this wool in my head. If it doesn't make sense, leave a comment if you don't agree. But I think, and from the experience of doing over 30 vans and insulating them in various different ways, to be the most thorough, I feel you need to go with the spray foam, but you can't just use the spray foam. AB Building Supplies also supply Penicil expanding foam, so we've also got some of that with a normal gun. So we will be filling in these sorts of areas, once the whole van's all bagged up and we've got to cover these window frames up, like I'll show you on the Ducato we've got sat there, we will be then going in these areas. We're going to kind of spot fill some of these other little areas with expanding foam, and then we will then apply the actual honey foam to get all the bigger areas. So this one's more prepared than the other one. We've already taped up the windows. So in here, same thing's essentially been done. We put sheep's wool in the walls, and then we've then also put bottle wool insulation in behind where the doorways are to kind of give it something for the carpet to go onto and protect the wiring loom that's running down there, as you can see. And then we've just put wool in various areas where it's quite hard to get the foam behind. And then what I'll do is once we've bagged the whole van up, I'll show you that process. And then we'll set a tripod up when we're actually applying the honey foam, and then show you, once it's set, probably then show you another time lapse of trimming all of the excess off, and hopefully a very neatly finished insulated van. Right, as you might be able to see behind me, the van is currently bagged up. So the plan is now I'm going to give you a 30-second whiz round it just to show you what I've done and why, and then I'm going to start spot filling with the Penicil expanding foam, and then after that it's onto the honey foam. So I've bagged everything up. We've used Q1 car wrap, so it opens up to be absolutely enormous. I've screwed down battens in various places to keep it where I want it. I have taped up every cable. What I'm going to do this time is, because before I filled this up with honey foam, I'm going to try and do this with the Penicil first and see how I get on. It should mean that I can get quite a good even amount of foam in all of those and really get it up in these cavities up in here as well. I'll then sort of encompass or envelope everything with the honey foam, because obviously that is the much more high volume foam out of the two, but I'm just, rather than trying to open the canisters, getting the suit on, doing the whole shebang and trying to get it all done in one hit, I'm going to do it in stages. Right, I think I cocked that up. I think originally I said I'd show you me cocking up, so this is me having cocked up. Gravity with this stuff obviously is not cooperating where I want to spray it. I want to spray it up inside some of these little nooks, and I can't get it up there because obviously it's held this way up. So my stupid fault, I should have thought of that. So I'm going to use it to spot fill all the little areas in the walls here that I don't want to use the honey foam for, because it'll expand out too quickly and make a massive mess. So I'm going to carefully go around and fill those up with this, so I don't use a lot of it because I don't want to waste it. And then I'm going to get the honey foam ready, and then we will get the suit on and do the big palaver of doing that. So by the end of the day, hopefully we'll have an insulated van and it'll all be tidied up. This stuff seems to take longer to go off as well, so it's doing the same thing. The honey foam expands really fast and then it goes hard like within 10 minutes, so you can get a second coat on. This is not doing that. This is doing what you would expect with normal expanding foam. So the trick is going to be with this to just do a bit here and there to fill in the gaps, and then the honey foam is going to do the main bit of the job. So this is definitely better than normal Sudal expanding foam, but it's not, it's really designed to be a cheap version of the honey foam, essentially, so that you can put this spray nozzle on it and you can cover a flat area like you do with the honey foam. But obviously the honey foam is far more expensive, but again is better. So this is a good, cheaper alternative if you're maybe doing something smaller and you don't need a whole kit of spray foam, honey foam. So take from that what you will. So we'll try again now. Right, phase one of spray foam is done. I'll quickly show you what it's looking like. It looks like something out of a horror film at the minute, but it will mean now that I've got to just spend a couple of hours with a reciprocating saw with a blade that's bent at an angle to cut all of it off. And then you have to go round with a DA sander, 220 grit sandpaper basically, and just sand all of the framework. You could have done the spray foam before doing all of the wooden framework like we've done, and you know, even before windows and stuff like that, but just the way that certain things are fitted externally, you need a clean surface on the inside to be able to, you know, to fit it properly. If you've covered the whole van in spray foam, you then have to scrape a load of it off, and you're not actually probably getting back to the actual metal. Again, not knocking it, but I know there's places out there that will spray foam a van for you. You know, you take them an empty van and they cover it in spray foam. I've talked about how I don't think that's sufficient because you've missed all the cavities basically, which is why we've done it the way we've done it. If you spray the whole van before you do a lot of the stuff that we've done, you then have an easier time of it, but then you've then got a harder time of it doing all the external stuff. And to me, not getting things sealed up right on the externals is way worse than having to work harder doing the spray foam now. You can see how deep it is and how much volume we've got in there of it. It's not just a thin layer of it over all of the metalwork. We've used the whole kit, and yeah, I'm very happy with it, but it's going to be a few hours of misery now cleaning it up. So the lighting's not great in there, but hopefully you can sort of see. I mean, this wooden framework is probably 70 mil away from the outer skin of the van. So you think we've now got really thick layer of it. Once it's been cleaned up and it's not all bobbly and horrible, you can see this isn't like normal expanding foam where it's all hollow and you've got all these weird pockets in it. This is pretty solid. So once I've cleaned it back, this should be mega insulated compared to just spraying it lightly over the whole skin. Again, doing that in a container or in a workshop that's, you know, flat corrugated panels on the outside works fine, because you can do one layer, then do it again, and you're spraying to flat basically, or between joists. So it kind of works, but with a van being awkward, it doesn't. Thank God we've sheeted the van up, but it's still an absolute nightmare in here. And then obviously there's going to be more and more stuff cut off, so temptation's there to debag the whole thing, but I think we're just going to trim everything off carefully without accidentally hitting the cable. Believe it or not, I just filmed 5 minutes of explaining the finish of this escapade doing spray foam, and the mic wasn't turned on. So this is take 2. The spray foam's done. I'm going to spin you around and just give you an idea of what we've done and why we've done it, and summarise the whole process. Again, the kit is called Honey Foam. I'd really recommend it. Again, as I explained earlier in the video, we've used a combination of insulations, sheet wool, bottle wool, and the spray foam. We've used some Penicil expanding foam as well. I had kind of mixed results with that. To be honest, I'd probably just use the Honey Foam for all the little nooks and crannies, just because it's connected to a gun from the bottom, so you use it upside down, whereas an expanding foam bottle, you've got to obviously hold it with the bottle on the top, and if you try and flip it, it just doesn't work. So yeah, the spray foam was pretty good at getting in all the nooks and crannies if you were careful about it. And you obviously get 2 different nozzles as well. You get a kind of direct fire one, and then you get a spray fan one. So yeah, the fan one's obviously better for big flat areas, and the other one is better for kind of aiming at more specific spots. As you can see, it's all done. So quick summary, we've sanded all the excess off after cutting the other bits off with a reciprocating saw, debagged the van, 4 bin liners full of offcuts later. The van doesn't look like a alien layer. It now looks nice and presentable. Hoover and a DA 150mm sander has meant that we can get all of the ply sanded back and all of the excess, and you can then obviously sand this, because it's closed cell foam. You can pretty much sculpt it with the sander and get it flat. So as you can hear, it's solid. Depending on where you look in the van, the ceilings in most areas will have a minimum of 30 to 50mm of solid foam in there now. And then the walls, again, certain areas will have up to probably 80 or 90mm, and probably a minimum of 30 everywhere. So we'll have got every nook and cranny with either the spray foam or with the recycled bottle wool insulation in certain areas, and then it's been encapsulated by the spray foam. I personally think this is the best way to go about insulating something like a van, and I think you've got to do it once you've got the external fixtures in. And we like to obviously get the van all squared up with our frames and stuff like that, and then do it, which doesn't make it the easiest because you're trying to work around all of this, but at the same time I think it then clings to all of this, because spray foam is an adhesive as well, so it is kind of holding the backside of all of these wooden frames, so they're definitely never going to be able to kind of come loose. Everything's very solid. There shouldn't be any creaking. It should solidify everything, and it should sound deaden the van as well as really, really well insulate it. Obviously, we've done all the external fittings first, because I don't think you can get a good seal without having a nice clean metal surface to cut the hole through, and then make sure it's sealed either from the inside or outside or both. Be warned, if you do take a van to be spray foamed by someone, I would suggest you take it with all of the external fixtures in first and paying extra for them to prep it, because I think you'll have a nightmare of a time trying to clean it back to then cut holes and then seal round those holes depending on how you're sealing them. We obviously seal certain things from the outside as they're fitted, and then they sandwich together, and that's how they're sealed. Some of them we seal from the inside as the outside piece is pinched together with the inner. It just depends on what it is. So I'd strongly recommend that you do your research into what is the best way to fit the things you're fitting on the van, basically. So it's quicker, I think, than filling the van up with a wool insulation of any sort and doing a vapor barrier, because if you don't do the vapor barrier right, you may as well not bother. So to do it properly takes days. It's very tedious. It's lots of aluminium foil tape. It's lots of degreasing, and you've then got to be very careful about how you put wooden structures over that, because every time you puncture it, you're essentially stopping it from doing its job. So doing this, at least you don't have to do the vapor barrier. You don't need to go through 10 rolls of foil tape. We've moved on to using sheep's wool in the doors, so you don't have to use a vapor barrier, and if there's ever anything needed to be done in the doors, you haven't got to peel all this horrible foil tape off. You aren't going to scare the hell out of a main dealer if you turn up with a van that's got a broken door lock, for example, and you've filled the whole van up with expanding foam where all the mechanisms are and they can't get them out. I would imagine if you did that on a Sprinter and took it to Mercedes and it was still within warranty, they would probably have something to say about your warranty at that point. I mean, you can see the way these mechanisms move. Even the sheep's wool can interfere with it and make it stiff to open a door. So you imagine you filled a door up with spray foam and covered it all in spray foam. It's just, to me, you don't need to do that. Again, if you're interested in buying a spray foam kit, AB Building Supplies are who we use. They've been really, really helpful. The guys there are very knowledgeable. They can give you advice about how much you'll need. Again, I would recommend the Honey Foam, and the bottles themselves need to be kept at least room temperature. in those colder months, so they're not freezing cold when you start spraying, because the two chemicals won't combine properly and you'll get worse results. So prep is important. It's like anything. It's like painting a car. If you prep it badly, you get crap results. Spraying the car doesn't take that long. It's the prep and it's the polishing and the flattening everything afterwards, which makes a good, makes a good paint job, really. So same with this. This isn't painting a car, but it's still pretty messy and tedious, and if you get it wrong, you're going to go wrong big time. So thank you for watching. I'm going to do a car video next week fixing my Subaru finally, and hopefully this video has helped you get your head around doing spray foam. Leave me a comment if you know of any other way of insulating a van better, or where we could have done things better. Always happy to hear your opinion. And yeah, thank you for watching.